All right, get ready to dive deep, because today we're tackling end-to-end testing with Playwright.
And the best part is we're going behind the scenes with a developer in Taiwan who's got some serious real-world experience.
Exactly. We snagged this awesome technical talk he gave, all in Mandarin Chinese originally, about how he uses Playwright to build those bulletproof web tests.
Which is huge, because we all know end-to-end testing, it's all about seeing the user's journey from start to finish. We're talking catching those sneaky bugs that only show up when different parts of your app are talking to each other, in real life.
Right, and our Taiwanese developer friend, he gets that pain. I mean, he's lived through the flaky tests, the nightmare of fixing one thing just to break 3 others.
Oh.
He's found a better way, a smarter way, and he wants to share it.
And that's where Playwright steps in. You know what's really fascinating about Playwright? It's so user-friendly. Even if you're not a coding whiz, Playwright makes it super approachable.
Okay, I'm all ears. Break it down for me. What makes it so user-friendly? Especially when it comes to testing. I'm always down for tools that make my life easier.
Think like this: intuitive commands, visual tools that actually make sense, and the best part is you can record your tests while you're manually going through the UI. It's like it lowers that barrier to entry so everyone on the team can jump in and help build more robust software.
So no more excuses about being too busy for thorough testing, right?
No more excuses. He's all about working smarter, not harder, and Playwright gives you the tools to do just that.
I can get behind that. So I'm seeing in our source material that one of the things that makes Playwright so powerful is the way it handles locators. Can you explain what those are and why they matter so much in testing for those who might not be up to speed?
Absolutely. Back in the day, we were stuck with these crazy, long, messy CSS selectors or those XPath expressions, just to target one single element on a web page.
Ugh, yeah, I remember those days. Those were impossible to keep straight, let alone maintain. Every time the UI changed, those locators were the first things to break.
Exactly. Playwright completely changes the game. It uses these elegant, human-readable locators that are way more resilient to those UI changes we're always dealing with.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. Give me an example. What makes Playwright's locators so much better?
They're smart. They use things like ARIA attributes, roles, labels, and placeholders. All those things we add for accessibility and clarity. Even that alt text you carefully craft for your images for screen readers, Playwright can grab onto that. It's all about writing clean, maintainable code that actually reflects the way users interact with your web pages.
Wait, hold on. Did you say alt text? You mean the stuff we're supposed to be adding to images for accessibility? It's using that to make our tests better.
Exactly. It might seem strange at first, but those accessibility features we often overlook, they're like secret weapons for building a super robust testing suite.
My mind is officially blown. I have to hear more about this.
Okay, so think of it this way. When you use semantic HTML, ARIA attributes, clear labels, all those accessibility best practices, you're not just making your app more inclusive, but you're also creating more stable, human-readable locators that Playwright can easily grab onto.
So not only are we making our applications more accessible, which is so important, but we're also making our tests more efficient and less likely to break every time a button moves a few pixels. I love a good win-win situation.
It is, and this highlights a really important point. The way a web page is structured can make or break your automated tests.
So what you're saying is sometimes our front-end code is the real testing nightmare. Don't get me wrong, our front-end devs are rock stars, but sometimes...
Let's just say Playwright, with his laser focus on those user-facing elements, gives you some serious ammo to advocate for a more testable code base. But to be fair to the front-end wizards, even with the cleanest code testing can throw some curveballs. And our developer friend, he dives into a perfect example of this.
Yeah, the vanishing delete button, right? Those are the kinds of real-world problems I live for.
Oh, tell me about it. He built this whole script to manage tasks on a to-do list. That classic app every developer makes when they're learning a new framework?
Classic. Simple concept, but a ton of actions to test adding, deleting, marking complete.
Exactly. And his script worked perfectly the first time, added tasks, no problem. But when he tried to delete them, poof, the button was gone, vanished.
Oof, I can feel the frustration from here. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. So what was the culprit? Bad locator? Timing issue? Or did those gremlins we always blame finally show up?
So after a ton of head scratching and staring at his code, he realized it was a classic mistake, one that even seasoned developers make. He forgot about the hover state.
The dreaded hover state. For our listeners who don't live and breathe code 24/7, can you explain why hover states are so tricky to test? because I've definitely run into my share of those headaches.
It's all about how we use websites, right? You've got these subtle visual cues, a color change, a button that pops up when you hover your mouse over something. It's all about that smooth, interactive experience for the user.
Right, like those little delete buttons that only show up when you hover over a list item, or navigation menu that expands on hover.
Exactly. And those hover effects, while they seem simple, they can totally mess with your automated tests. See, Playwright doesn't actually mimic a mouse moving across the screen unless you tell it to.
So in our developer's case, his script was trying to click on a button that wasn't even visible because it hadn't hovered over that task item yet.
Exactly. And what I love is he shared this not to shame anyone for making mistakes, we've all been there, but to show how crucial those tiny user interactions are when you're automating something as complex as a web app.
It's a great reminder that even with a tool as awesome as Playwright, we still got to think like our users.
Absolutely. And the cool part is, Playwright makes it easy to add those hover actions. He showed how with just one line of code, page.hover, targeting the right element, he solved the mystery and got those delete buttons working like a charm.
Another win for elegant Playwright code. But let's talk about some next-level Playwright features. Save storage and load storage. Those tools that can save us hours of frustration.
Right. Imagine testing an app where users have to log in every time an admin dashboard or a social media site. In the old days, you'd have to manually log in every time you ran your test suite.
Ugh, talk about tedious. Not to mention all the typos and errors waiting to happen.
Exactly. But save storage and load storage, they give you this superpower to capture that authenticated state, the cookies, the local storage, the whole shebang, and then inject it directly into your testing environment.
So it's like hitting fast forward on that whole login process.
Exactly. Our developer friend even used this trick to conquer multi-factor authentication in his testing.
Now that's impressive. MFA can be a real pain to automate. How do you pull that off?
He used save storage after logging in with MFA turned on. Then in his test scripts, he'd use load storage to inject that authenticated state MFA clearance and all right into his test environment. No more messing around with authentication codes for every single test run.
Brilliant. He's saving time, reducing errors, and staying on the right side of security best practices. It's a win-win-win situation. But tell me more about these HAR files and mocking API responses. It sounds like some next-level testing wizardry.
Okay, HAR files, mocking APIs. You're speaking my language. It sounds like we're about to unlock some serious testing superpowers here.
We might be onto something. When we're talking about these complex web applications, it's not just about what the user sees, right? We've got API calls flying around behind the scenes, data coming from who knows where, those third-party integrations that always seem to have a mind of their own. Oh, tell me about it. Trying to wrangle all of that into a testing environment can be a nightmare.
Exactly. And that's where HAR files and Playwright's API mocking come in to save the day. HAR stands for HTTP archive. It's basically like a snapshot of all the network traffic that happens when you're browsing. Think of it as a super detailed log of every request and response. The headers, the content, the timings, everything.
So our developer friend, being the resourceful guy he is, found a way to use these HAR files to make his testing life a little less chaotic.
Exactly. He showed how he uses Playwright to capture all those API requests while he's recording his initial tests and save them into a HR file. Then when he runs his automated tests, he can tell Playwright, hey, just replay those captured responses instead of actually hitting the API.
Okay, that is so smart. It's like creating this perfect little simulation of the API just for those specific test scenarios.
Precisely. It gives you this incredible power to isolate the front-end code you're testing and make sure those tests are rock solid, even if the API is down or, having a moment.
No more, my test failed, but it's not me, it's the API. I love it.
Exactly. Though he did mention it's important to use this strategically. You don't want to go mocking everything because then you're not really testing how things work together in the real world, are you?
Right. It's all about finding that balance between isolating your tests and making sure everything plays nicely in a real environment.
Exactly. This approach just gives you so much flexibility and control. It's like having a secret weapon up your sleeve.
Speaking of secret weapons, our developer friend, he dropped this gem about the Playwright mindset. What did he mean by that?
He's all about keeping things simple, readable, really focusing on the value that testing brings. It's easy to get lost in this world of overly complex code, especially with end-to-end testing where there are so many moving parts.
So resist the urge to over-engineer. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best.
Absolutely. He's all about choosing clarity over cleverness, especially when you're writing tests that someone else, or let's be honest, your future self will have to understand someday.
Such good advice. This deep dive has been so inspiring. It's amazing what we can learn from developers around the world who are willing to share their experiences and insights.
Totally agree. And you know what's really cool about Playwright? It's always evolving. There's always something new to learn, a new technique to master.
I love a good tool that grows with you, especially as our testing needs get more and more complex.
Exactly. Who knows, maybe one of our listeners will be the next Playwright expert, blowing us away with their testing knowledge.
I love that. And on that note, we hope this deep dive has given you the knowledge and hopefully the inspiration to level up your testing game with Playwright. Remember, there's a whole community of passionate developers out there. Don't be afraid to ask questions, experiment, and most importantly, have fun with it.